Hi, everyone. My name is Bernie Mulvaney, and my paper in this presentation will be on, forgive me, this very long title, which is Creating an Anti-Racist Classroom, but from my unique perspective as a white teacher in a rural, mostly white school, and my plans to do so through a culturally responsive pedagogy and representative curriculum. So the first thing I want to do is introduce you to some of my favorite writers, these wonderful women, who among them have a Guggenheim Fellowship, and Zora Neale Hurston is widely regarded as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Black woman writer of the 20th century, and awards are now named after her. We also have Bernardine Evaristo with a Booker Prize, Maya Angelou's 3 Grammy Awards, her National Medal of the Arts, the National Medal of Freedom, the Presidential Medal of Freedom that Maya Angelou and Toni Morrison have, the National Book Award that Audre Lorde and Alice Walker have, the Pulitzer Prize for Literature, Toni Morrison and Alice Walker, Susan Laurie Parks Pulitzer for Drama, Gwendolyn Brooks Pulitzer for Poetry, and Toni Morrison's Nobel Prize in Literature. So what do these women have in common other than being some of the most amazing writers of the 20th and 21st century? Well, their works also account for less than 10% of the curriculum in any high school across the country. They're also 4.5 times more likely to have their works banned in book bans across the country than white men. And in my school, they're represented in the curriculum as follows. Nothing. None of them are represented in the curriculum. Here's what our core curriculum looks like. And it's very interesting because I thought about writing about this topic weeks ago when it was presented to us the first time. And then just last week, I sat in a meeting where we discussed the core curriculum and rearranged it. As the core curriculum stands, this is it in terms of Black characters, Black stories, Black writers. Of course, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, which is about a Black woman who was exploited by the medical industry because she had unique sort of medically miraculous cells that replicated sort of forever, which is where we get The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, and her family struggle to understand what happened to their long dead mother. It deals with injustice, it deals with moral philosophy, it deals with medical ethics. It's incredibly rich for discussion and for writing and for exploration of the topic. It's also written by a white woman, as is, of course, To Kill a Mockingbird, which features 2 sort of secondary characters of color, and of course, Martin Luther King Jr.'s Letter from Birmingham Jail. I argued heavily to keep The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks in the curriculum, but I lost the fight. And now we're left with just these 2, and the only one with, I believe that is a Black story by a Black writer, is The Letter from Birmingham Jail. So I want to make a potentially controversial statement that I think that limiting a school's curriculum to one that is centered in whiteness is an act of not only oppression, but what I would call cultural violence against people of color. Because even in a school whose student body is 100% white, it's still an act of oppression, because what we're teaching those children is that white stories are the only ones that matter. That those are the ones that are important, which is why we've centered them in our core curriculum. And we're really preparing them for a mindset of white supremacy and to go out into the world without the ability to empathize with people who are not like them, which leads to further oppression. So here's how I plan to start to fix it. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but fortunately, outside of the core curriculum, we have the opportunity to build in whatever supplemental materials we want. I'm choosing Beloved by Toni Morrison to sort of pilot next year with my honors students. And part of this is centering Black women and Black girls' literacies. I'm going to use a direct quote. I know we're not supposed to, but I'm using this from one of our readings that said, if English educators focus on the literacy interests and needs of Black girls, all students benefit. The Black Girls Literacies Framework begins from Black girls' ways of knowing as opposed to literacy initiatives that situate white, monolingual, middle-class ideologies as the norm. I think empathizing with Black girls and Black women, who are one of the most marginalized constituencies in our culture, will teach students empathy that they can then carry with them and use in situations where they deal with anybody who isn't like them. And that's one of the first steps to dismantling racist structures in education. I think that's all we have time for, folks. But hey, this is one step, I think, in the right direction. And yeah, you know, I'm a white teacher. I think it's my responsibility. And let's go build anti-racist classrooms.